The next section ahead for TA southbounders is from Paihia to Ngunguru. I apologize for the pronunciation. It's about 77.5 miles to get a little bit past this town, but I split it into this section because Ngunguru is really the next resupply town. And you have a few options. So, as I said in the last video, leaving Paihia, you have a few options on the routes you can take. And as you see, we took the route over to the town of Russell because it gives you the most walking miles and most connected footsteps, and that is our preference. But again, you can do other options. You can take a boat over to the town of Opau and connect the footsteps that way, or you can canoe the inlet as well. Pick and choose, and you will end up on this side of the island and across the water. So when you get across the water, you have a little bit of road walking to start out. The town of Russell does have some amenities, a quick corner store, you can pick up some goods. And then you start this little connecting piece of trail called the walking track, as you saw there. And it's actually really beautiful. It puts you through some of these marshlands. The boardwalks are amazing. The track quality is really, really impressive. It puts you through these very beautiful forests. Really easy walking, very straightforward. I would recommend filling up on water in Russell or the town of Paihia before you start this, because a lot of the natural sources through there, they're not the best. They are kind of brackish water with the tidal creeks in there. And once you get through the walkway portion, you start this long road walk that will be for the majority of the rest of your day, if not the entirety of the rest of your day. It fluctuates between paved road as well as gravel road, which you'll see shortly, but you're on the road. It's really not that busy since you're kind of on the other side of the waterway from the main hub of Paihia and the main route over there, the main road. This road is kind of a secondary road, so there's really not a whole lot of traffic. There still are cars about, so just be aware. And there's a nice little bus stop about halfway into your day, however, depending on your pace, that you can kind of eat lunch, get out of the rain. It's actually where the Opu and the Russell track connect in. So once you finish the paved road walking, you end up on this little gravel path. As I said, you can see here, there are cars that come your way, so just be aware. It's very infrequent, but still be aware while you're walking the road. And you do a little bit of gravel road walking, connects you back into pavement, and this pavement will bring you to a very popular camp spot called The Farm. Many TA hikers, if they're leaving Paihia and do the Russell route, or any of the other routes honestly, they stay at this camp spot called The Farm. It's a paid camp spot, but it's the first legal camp spot you can camp if you don't want to stay in the town of Russell itself or in the town of Opu itself. So it's the first legal camp spot that you can camp on this side of the land. And it's right there. Has full amenities. We did not stay there, but again, very popular with TA hikers. So if you decide to go past the farm, you have another option called Tammy's Place. And Tammy's Place is advertised in the TA maps, but I would either text or call ahead before kind of building your itinerary around that, because I think her hours do fluctuate and her season fluctuates. As you see, the sign was actually put down on the ground and the grass is dead underneath, so it means it's been there for a long time, and I think it's seasonality. So if you're planning on staying there, I would highly recommend calling or texting ahead. So that didn't work out, but again, there's legal camp spots spaced out on the North Island. You just have to kind of walk between them. So if Tammy's Place doesn't work out and you want a longer day from Paihia, there's this little town called Ngunguru, again, part of my pronunciation, that is actually a very magnificent town, in my opinion. It has a little dairy, you can kind of get some cold drinks, some snacks, but also it's just so scenic, very peaceful. It's about 1.5 miles off trail in one direction, so you will have to walk back unless you want to try to hitch out. But there's this one place to stay, which I have right here, and it's called Justin's Place, or it just is Justin's Place, and it's an epically beautiful camp spot. Look at how tranquil the bay is. So this is the camp spot. It's up on this terrace. You're overlooking the water. It is just gorgeous. By far, both one of and my Magpie's favorite spots on the North Island to camp. The fish and chips, again, this is preference, but highly recommend going to the fish and chips joint because it's right next to the water and one of our favorite fish and chips restaurants on the North Island. So day 2 is going from Okara to Wanaka Holiday Park. I apologize for the pronunciation. This day is going to have kind of a little fluctuation of different types of trails. You're going to start your morning with road walking, to get back to the official TA route itself, which is also road. So as you can see, there's not a lot of shoulder, but Magpie in that previous clip was walking in the middle of the road because not a whole lot of cars. But this road does have a reputation for being kind of sketchy. As you can see, these corners, there's nowhere to kind of get off. They're very blind and tight corners, and there are cars that will pass you. So be very careful on that road. It's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be, but just be very careful. There are a lot of blind corners. So that road will connect you into Helena Bay, as you see there, and there's a little picnic area there if you want to sit down and kind of eat lunch. I would recommend, again, bringing water from town to town. I would actually recommend that a lot for many of the sections in the North Island. Just the towns are spaced apart short enough that you can carry water from town to town. So you get into this next piece of track, and unfortunately the entire track wasn't open in the year 2022-23, but you still get this portion of track that you're off the road, which is a nice change up, because at this pace a lot of your trail, quote-unquote trail, leading up to this was in fact road. So you get a true flavor of the North Island. It's mud, it's steep ups, steep downs, and you're going to hope you have some traction on your feet, because you will see that you can slip and slide and you will get muddy. But this track is kind of, you can compare it to a lot of the North Island track. You don't really know how fast you're going to be able to go. I think we may have averaged 2 miles per hour through there, if we're being generous. It's just very steep, very muddy. Your footsteps are slower than you would want to go because you don't want to slip, but it's a beautiful, beautiful portion of trail. There are a few down trees through there. Again, that information will fluctuate depending on the season you go through, with trail crews going out there and working. But yeah, it was the first major chunk besides the Piketty Forest on the North Island that you're kind of in the forest itself, which, in my opinion, very, very gorgeous. So eventually when you top out on the climb, you hit this broad expanse of open land, which would make for a great drying out party, great break spot, however you want to define it. I filmed this piece right here, this cattle tank, because as I said, most water sources are from town to town, if not these camp spots or huts, like right here. But if you're looking for like natural water sources, this section can be very hot, very exposed, and a lot of climbing. So this water, if you can hold out, go past the cattle tank. It's about another mile past where you can also camp. But if you are in an emergency, you can use the water in the cattle tanks. I would just recommend filtering them. So once you get out of the forest portion, you get back into road, and this is where I wanted to touch on these alternates begin to add up. So the North Island has a whole lot of closures, and again, this information will fluctuate year to year, but the North Island itself has a lot of forest closures for kauri dieback. So that means a lot of the time they're going to shut down a piece of trail and you're going to have to alternate around. So this alternate we ended up being on was the Kakuni Road, pardon my pronunciation, and the official trail would have been 8 miles. This road was about 12 miles, so it added about 4 miles onto your day. Be very cognizant of these little add-ons throughout these days, because they can kind of make or break a day sometimes. Sometimes that extra 4 miles can hurt if it's a big mile day. So be prepared for these like closures and these alternates that will make your days longer to do this official quote-unquote miles. So you end the day at the Wanaki Holiday Park, which is absolutely gorgeous. Again, like I said, the flavor of the North Island, a lot of holiday parks. They always have open camping for TA hikers. They'll put you in a little TA section and you kind of just bubble up and fit your tents in there. They have showers, they have laundry, they have amenities. If you do get to Wanaka early enough, there is a little corner store around there that you can get some kind of hot food. I wouldn't bet on resupplying there. We didn't go there per se, but you could definitely top off a resupply. So your next morning, we'll start with the longest bridge in the Southern Hemisphere. I think it's set at 395 meters, I believe. Very, very pretty. Really would try to time that on a blue sky day like we have there, because it is just really, really pretty, and it's really cool to experience that type of bridge. And from the holiday park, it is about somewhere in the ballpark of 15 to 16 miles to the town of Ngunguru, and the track through there is just excellent quality. You do a lot of 2-track to connect into this also 2-track. But this 2-track kind of in these bluffs where you're going to do kind of mini roller coasters, ups and downs throughout these kind of small valleys up into the next bluff. The elevation change, it's on the road, so it's not too bad. You can actually hold a pretty consistent pace here. But every time you get to the top of a bluff, you got broad sweeping views like you see here. And it was by far one of our favorite parts of this section. Just really gorgeous all the way around. So you go through these cattle pastures. They're friendly cows, don't really worry about them. The only cows you really have to worry about in the most part are bulls in New Zealand, and we'll get into that in future videos. And worries also a loose term. But then you drop down into this beach and you have two options. You can do the red line, which is the route that we did, or you can go through this other town if you want some food. The red line is less busy road, so that's what we chose to do. And also we wanted to stay true to the red line. So brings you up a little climb. You're mostly on paved road walking, just paved road walking again. These connector pieces in the North Island go from coast to coast. And then you hop into this kind of Jeep track as you saw there. It's a 2-track, it's a wider trail, gravel road, and this Jeep track will lead you again into the paved road into Ngunguru. And there's a couple accommodations in Ngunguru. If you want to look at those, Google them. There's no right or wrong there, it's all down to preference. And when you get into the town proper of Ngunguru, they have a cafe, they have a mini kind of dairy / grocery store. I think a lot of people resupply there. We kind of topped off, we didn't do a full resupply. The reason I broke this video into Ngunguru as a resupply is because you have to catch this ferry across, which you're going to see here shortly. And a lot of people end up staying at this famous Trail Angels place called James Place. So a lot of people probably use the dairy in the town itself to resupply for there. We were trying to get some forward momentum because, as you see here, this map is at James Place, and that cardboard piece is the official trail, but it was closed for circumstances. And if you can't do the official trail, you have this long alternate around. I think it's about 15 to 18 miles around to do like 1 forward mile of trail. Again, these alternates, they fluctuate on the North Island and they'll catch up to you. So if you're trying to connect your steps, be prepared for some funky alternates. But it begins off with mostly gravel road. You can hold your pace, really easy walking. And after the gravel road, it puts you into this chunk of trail that any given circumstance is going to be very muddy. It was raining on us, so it was a little bit more muddy, but it's going to be very muddy. Slow your pace down. And as you saw at that sign a scene ago, there's no camping here. So the North Island, as I've said, you kind of have to go from legal camp spot to legal camp spot, which is either Trail Angels or most of the time holiday parks. So you go through this portion of trail. You do have 2 creek crossings to ford. They're not bad. They get about knee high at the highest point, and it had been raining on us for a while, so not really anything you have to worry about there. Unless it's been raining for absolute days, they may flood a little bit, but as you can see, it's pouring and it wasn't too bad. So after you get out of that section of trail, it puts you into another road walk, which will be the remainder of your day because you have to get to the next legal camp spot. So the remainder of your day, you will end up walking to this place called Vicky's Farm. And I would highly recommend getting in contact with her beforehand. She kind of does it out of the goodness of her heart. She does want a koa to stay at her farm, which is very much appreciated. And it's a great spot to stay. She'll give you water, bare amenities, but you can pitch your tent, sleep well, eat food, and get ready for that next hike. So let's go get it.